Episode 277. Someone alive is waiting for you. Do you know that? Hey, the strange woman was wearing a blue Lolita dress. At a young age, she had long hair which was a bit messy at that point. Her airy bangs made her little white face look even more delicate. Her collar was wide open, revealing the tender cleavage. Just a little tease. Such a picture was a deadly temptation for men. Unfortunately, she had now encountered Keith Robinson. Keith had a military background and had never touched a woman until now at 29 years old. But the gene of his family was very powerful. None of the family members were lewd or disrespectful, and neither was he. At the moment, Keith could only feel disgusted. Pushing the woman away, he looked upset as he warned in a cold voice, "Get lost." When the girl heard this, she cried even more, putting her body up against him, unwilling to let him go. Don't drive me away." Keith closed his eyes, pulled her up, and drove her away. Then he quickly walked outside. But the woman behind him was crying out loud and shouting, "Why don't you? I'm your fiancé. Why don't you? Why you would rather take that woman Melissa and don't want me?" The man in the corridor glanced at him with a strange look when hearing the shouting. Keith did not look back and walked toward the banquet hall where Serena was. However, he ran into a man with a fashionable hairstyle, full makeup, a pink leopard suit, and a scarf on the neck. He was shouting anxiously, "Sweetie, you cannot go around running in the hotel like this. Diana, where are you?" Keith heard this voice and raised an eyebrow. The man quickly saw Keith and his eyes lit up. He asked, "Hello, handsome. Do you see a college girl wearing a blue dress? Yellow hair, very fair skin, about men's room." Before he finished, Keith only left 2 words and walked away with his long legs. The man in the leopard suit looked at his back and bit his lower lip, looking intoxicated. "Oh my, so handsome. Hey!" When Keith had already walked ahead, he realized what he was there for. "Oh, men's room. Diana, get out!" Keith had purchased a villa for himself. After driving Serena to the old house, he went back home. When Serena returned to the old house, it was past 10 o'clock in the night. The children were all asleep, but Captain Robinson was still watching TV in the living room. 3 years and 10 months later, he had gained more gray hair. In his old eyes, there was a shrewd brilliance. But for the children and grandchildren, their grandpa had always been kind. When seeing Serena coming back, he waved at her. "Sunshine, come over." "Grandpa." She went to sit next to the old man. "How come you're still up? It's so late." "I was asleep and woke up just now." He took Serena's hand, patted it, sighed, and said, "Do you know why I woke up?" Serena looked at him and slowly shook her head. His face had wrinkled more than 3 years ago. "I just had a dream. I dreamed that Jake came back." The old man smiled. His voice was old and dry, and his dry hand was lying on hers. He was a little sentimental as he stated, He said, "Grandpa, I'm sorry for making you and Serena wait for so long, but I'm afraid that I may not be able to come back to see you off. Just pretend that you had never had this grandson. I'm sorry." The voice of the old man cracked and his eyes were filled with tears. "It has been 4 years. 2 years later, it will be Jeremy and Julian's birthday. If he is still alive, he should have returned home already. Why is he still away from home?" Serena had a sore nose and tears in her eyes. "Grandpa, don't think so much. He will come back. It's just a matter of time. He is still alive, so you have to be healthy to see him. I have a hunch that he is coming back soon." Captain Robinson shook his head. "I know him. If he was still alive, he would not stay away from home for this long. He has a wife and 2 children. You know how much he expects from these 2 children. If he's still alive, it's impossible that he has not come back yet to see the children. Although, sometimes it does seem like he doesn't care, and he is a cold and I know he could never turn away from the people he cares about. He cares about his family, but 4 years have passed. Has he returned?" Serena had no words, and her throat was aching. "I don't have much time left. Over the years you have worked hard supporting his company and the 2 children. I've seen everything, but I feel sorry for you." "Grandpa, I'm okay." The old man took her hand and looked at her meaningfully. He said, You can take this, but do you know how much the two children yearn for Dad? When the old man mentioned this, Serena knew what he wanted to say, shook her head, and said, Grandpa, I don't want to find another person. I have to wait for him to come back. I know that you were loyal to him, but so many years have passed. You were only 25 years old. Accept the facts, Sunshine. He's already dead. He will not come back. Serena looked at the old man. His hair was almost white. Both his face and spirit looked more aged this time in her previous lifetime. She knew that he was worried about nothing more than the fear that she would be alone when he passed away. Jake was the grandson that he loved the most, the child that he had brought up, but now he was trying to persuade the wife of his most beloved grandson to remarry? Wasn't this torment for the old man? However, Serena was unwilling to accept his kindness. She held his hand and said seriously, Grandpa, he will come back. Sunshine. The voice of the old man sounded like broken bells in wind and rain, far away and swaying. The dead could not know the sacrifice you're making. Someone alive is waiting for you. Do you know that?